And then the medical for 50.
Okay, we're going to try to start this meeting now. Thank you. We're going to call the meeting to order. Do we have anyone from the media here? This is not going to be a live television, but it is being recorded for future use, like we did last time. That way, it'll be shown and everybody will be able to see it that is not here. How about approval of the agenda? All right. Chair's remarks. Approval. If there's no objections. So approved.
Approval of the report.
The minutes, where you gotta approve the approval of the minutes from October 2nd.
Yeah. We also have to approve the minutes from October 2nd.
I move.
The second, all right.
I said one comment about the minutes. Microphone.
Sorry, if I can't find this real quick, I'll just shine it on. It was something here. It said Director Addington asked if commercial bus routes that travel through the neighborhood will be picking up residents on sidewalks. And that's me, Director Addington, but do any of you guys remember what I meant by that?
Well, I would think you probably meant that they're going to drive by the sidewalk and they'll pick them up.
Well, I really don't remember saying this, but it's actually not that horrible. It doesn't ruin the minutes, but, yes, Judith? do you
I can
remember what
comment.
was
The only
saying?
thing I remember is we said that our buses, like on El Toro, would pick our residents up if they were at a commercial bus stop. Remember that part? Got it? Yeah.
I think that's what I said. I think I meant the neighborhood that wasn't ours, okay? Yeah, I think I was verifying, I do remember that. No big deal, but what I meant to say was to verify that regular route buses would stop at commercial bus
Bus
stops
stops.
out in the real world. That's what I meant to say,
Yeah.
outside the gate. Thank you.
All right, do we approve? Other than that, do we approve then? All right, so we had the meeting on the 2nd, and there was a lot brought up at that time. The consultant, Fairs and Peers, presented a transportation study recommending a recommendation to the Mobility Vehicle Committee for review. Recommendations included redesigning a fixed route system, operating fixed routes on Saturdays, reviewing plan-a-ride policy and scheduling, enhancing phone responses, adjusting vehicle use for plan-a-ride, and exploring a partnership with Age Well Services. VMS will make a presentation for this information after this meeting is over. I'm going to say this. Staff has done a tremendous job working with our consultant. And I'll tell you, I hope everybody will be satisfied here because they went through everything. They talked to you folks. They went ahead and considered what you had to say about what was right, wrong, or indifferent. And I'm telling you, there is a lot of changes in here, and I believe you will be happy today. And let's give staff a chance, and I'll bet if we have any other future challenges, they will be addressed properly. Okay? Yes?
So, Mr. Chair, if I can, one more thing that's in that article is to view the full report by Fur and Peers, you can go on the website. On YouTube, it says. So I'm not sure exactly how to do that, but that is, so apparently it is available if you miss that meeting.
Okay, now we're at members' comments that are items not on the agenda, and it'll be a 3-minute period. You want to make the announcements as to who's coming up, please?
Sue Ellen Zima.
Thanks. A quick question. I was wondering why we're putting off testing for 2 more months, since we already know what we have isn't working. 2 months is a long time to continue and not take advantage of what is the new system going to be like? Why are we waiting 2 more months to test it out?
I have an answer, but I'll let the gentleman here speak to it because he's in charge of this. He wanted to know why we're waiting 2 months.
Now, once we get approval, it's important for us to be able to educate the entire community on the new bus routes and the new system. And we didn't want to rush into something and with any changes, start up without giving appropriate time to educate the community. And there's also the process of training our bus drivers and our staff on the new routes as well.
In addition, we make recommendations, but before everything can be completed and concluded, it has to go before the GRF board. It has to be voted on because there'll be monies in this situation that may be over and above what we have limited now. So those are the things we have to consider. So like I said, please be patient on it, but I'm telling you, staff is really doing a job. They will do the best they can as quickly as they can.
Larry Irion.
I know I'm going to sound like a broken record up here, but I'm speaking about the software program again. Case in point, October 22nd, Tuesday, I called Plan a Ride to arrange for a ride on Monday, the 28th, 6 days in advance. They guaranteed me that that was all booked. In the subsequent days, I got 2, not 1, but 2 confirmations of that. 2 different buses, 2 different numbers, but the same time, 8:45, a pickup at my home, 8:45. Yesterday morning at 8:15, my phone rang. The girl at transportation said, "Your bus is waiting for you outside for your 8:15 pickup." And I said, "I'm sorry, I'm not dressed. My pickup is for 8:45. She said, "But we don't have any time. We don't have any buses available at that time." I said, "Excuse me, I have 2 confirmations. Both said 8:45. Well, we don't have any buses available at that time." Thank God, dear Francisco there I said, "I want to talk to somebody ahead of you." And I talked to Francisco. He arranged for somebody to come and pick me up to get me to the place on time. I don't know who's in charge of maintaining and taking care of this system, but it needs to be changed. If it doesn't work, if I have 2 confirmations, they're worthless. They come and call me and say, "Your bus is here," and we don't have any buses available at 8:45. The system is broken. It either needs to be fixed or thrown out and get a system that works. Thank you.
Next, please.
Rhoda Lindner.
Hello. I've only been using the buses for a month, but I've been very pleased with the whole situation during this month. The only complaint I had was when I tried to use Planner. I did succeed, actually, in using Plan a Ride for a Sunday afternoon visit to a concert in Clubhouse 3. I had to take the going an hour early, and I had to take the coming back an hour late, but that's okay. What shook me up was that I got 4 confirmations with different buses and different reservations, all for the same times. So I called, and they said, "Don't worry about it, a bus will be there." And sure enough, buses did come, and I did get to my place, and I got home again. So that's good. Just to tell you, that's really a problem. I know you know. The other thing I want to talk about is a particular right now situation. This weekend, the first weekend in November, is always Bonanza weekend at Clubhouse 4. It has been for many years. I have never cared about this issue because I always had a car before, but now I have no way to get to Clubhouse 4 on Bonanza weekend. I can't believe that. On Saturday and Sunday, the Arts and Crafts weekend. It's a very big event. You invite people from outside to come. but you have no plan that I can find anywhere to get me there from, I live at Gate 5, from Gate 5 to Clubhouse 4. And everybody else who lives in the village, who uses the buses, who wants to go. So please do something about that very quickly. Make a plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marilyn Handelman.
Mr. Chairman and committee, thank you very much for having this meeting. I have lived here for 17 years, but I drove for 16 of them. And this last year has been very difficult for many reasons. But when Cortese set up Leisure World, he set it up, because taking into consideration that as you grow older, and young people don't think of this. I'm an old lady, and I can tell you, as you grow older, you need the feeling of independence. You've lost so much, and you don't want to give up your independence. You need sociability, and you need exercise. And when the bus system was originally set up 60 plus years ago, in many cases, before some of you were born, these things were taken into consideration. I do not drive now. I live by myself, and I need these three things. Plan a Ride has helped a lot, but I have to get on the phone to get a Plan a Ride, maybe. The other day, I called for Plan a Ride for tomorrow and Friday so I can get to the Sylvester Center for a saddleback mobility exercise class that is keeping me walking and keeping me moving. It took me a half an hour to get somebody on the line. At the end of the half hour, I got a message. There's no one to take your call. Please leave a message. I have left messages, and nobody ever calls back. Eventually, I did get through. And the young lady, I told her what I needed, and she said, just a minute, and I've got to check. 15 minutes later, she came back and said, okay, you're all set. But the 15 minutes that I was on that phone, somebody else could not get on. Now, in today's modern world, which I'm just getting used to and you guys live by, why isn't there just a computer at the phone that you can bring up to see? Is there a ride available?
Your time is up, ma'am. Can you pass it a little faster, please?
Well, that's basically. My other deal is that on the new plan, there's no ride on Sunday except Plan a Ride. You cannot always get a ride, and you're stuck at home. So I hope that in considering these new plans, that you will take those in consideration. And I hope that, I don't know how you're planning to get all this information to the community, but I do hope that you get it to them because these buses are daunting sometimes. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Mary Wall.
Thank you very much for having this meeting.
I'll go to the financials for a start, with the admin, schedules and training. What about the bus drivers? Where does it come into in this schedule, the financials? Are the bus drivers here? Admin, schedules and training? No bus drivers? Anyway, I think they should charge for the tours. $40 per person is a lot of money to come out of the bus costs. The bus drivers. I feel very sorry for the bus drivers. They're on a schedule. You keep on changing their schedules. They have to take people on the bus, off the bus, walkers, shopping carts. How can they keep to a schedule? They're angels, I tell you. And they get no satisfaction, they get nothing from you people, absolutely nothing. I'd like to know how many people, board members and staff, have actually ridden on the buses to see what the bus driver, thank you, Elsie, Director Addington, to see what the bus drivers actually do. You know, and now you're going to change the schedules again for them? A lot of them are leaving, you know that, because they can't stand being messed around. And we're being messed around. We're senior citizens here. We're not young students or something who goes down and catches a school bus and comes back. We're seniors. You've messed us around for the last 3 years. You messed us around back in 2002 when you changed it to ABC, whatnot. That lasted 3 weeks. We have a schedule here, 2017. This worked. Since then, you've had consultants after consultants after consultants, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, when all you had to do was pick up this schedule and put it back in place. And the lift bus should be the lift bus like it used to be, so that people don't have to wait for plan a ride and say, I'm sorry, you ride on, we can't make it. There should be a lift bus, and it should be put it back in place. What else is there? That's about all, I guess. Oh, I know there's one other thing, that when I'm on the buses, I don't have to try to be on buses. I'm very active. I got a car, I got a bicycle. I don't have to be on the buses. But I travel on the buses, and I see what's going on. And when I'm going on, there's some bus drivers say, yes, I'll pick them up at so-and-so, yes, I'll pick them up at so-and-so. I'm thinking, you're on a schedule. They're calling them all the time. They're distracted all the time from when they're driving. Can you pick up this one? Can you pick up that one? You know, I don't know. But thank you very much for having this meeting.
Thank you. No clapping, please. Please. Next.
Refugio Portela.
Go for it. I'm new at this. I moved here over 5 years ago. I'm 73 years old. I never thought I'd be a disabled senior, but it seems like I'm more disabled than healthy. Long story short, I have problems going to the washroom. I can't wash my clothes because the step's too high. And this weekend I went to Thank God Friday dance until 9 o'clock. And they went 3 empty buses going by me, and one I even talked to. Nobody would give me a ride home when they had 3 empty buses. I don't know about the Disabled Act here in Laguna Woods, but I thought there was a Disabled Act for veterans and regular citizens. I know we get a tax exemption because we're disabled, but when it comes to laundry room, I can't even do my laundry. And the other one is the buses. I don't understand why buses don't pick you up when they're going in the same direction, and they're empty buses. And I don't know if I'm the only one with that problem, but I like entertainment. I like my weekends, but I cannot drive. And I've been in a wheelchair 3 years before. This year, I don't know how long I'm going to be at it, but it's difficult. Yeah, I've been a widow almost 10 years. I never thought I was going to be alone in this world. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Miller.
Hi, I'm on the same mindset as the woman who spoke previously. Laguna Woods is 3 miles. I can go, Trader Joe's is 1 mile from my home, yet it can take me 2 hours to plan a ride, get on the bus, go to Trader Joe's and get home. My frozen food is defrosted by the time I get home. 3 miles is the whole entire Laguna Woods. Everybody is on the board because of their expertise. And like the other person that spoke before, I also don't understand why consultants are hired time and time and time again at $20,000, $30,000, $46,000. 3 miles. The bus drivers that I've talked to said that they constantly give the board their recommendations and they poo-poo them. They don't want to listen to them. So it's just mind-blowing to me. And as far as the planner ride, I too wanted to go to a couple speaking events at Clubhouse 5. I called planner ride, they say nothing's available. This excursion thing where you have to go buy the lottery. A lot of people would have to take the bus to go up to the administration building to just fill out a lottery ticket. If this is a collective and you're taking all of our dues and it's going toward that, then to tell other people that they can't do it because they're not on the lottery, they didn't win. I don't think that that's legal. So you might want to check with your legal department about that. Thank you.
Suzanne Smith.
Hi, I want to start out by saying that I appreciate the bus system very much. I think some of the drivers are excellent and they take very good care of the riders. But I have come onto several problems. When you call in and they say, leave your name and number, we'll get back to you, they never get back to you. Or you've waited 10 or 12 minutes and it comes on the phone, well, you'll have to leave your name and number now, and we'll get back to you. And then they hang up on you. I sometimes carry a cell phone, but I only have so many minutes that I've paid for. And if I have to use up all my minutes calling transportation to get home, that doesn't work too well. Last Thursday, I went out to get a regular bus. I went out, my bus usually comes 20 minutes after the hour. I went out at 3:15, waited for 20 or 25 minutes, and no bus came, and I thought, well, maybe it came a little early and I missed it. I'll go in the house and come back. I got out again at 4:15. I did that. No bus came. So I thought, this is really strange. Why is it that they didn't want to pick me up? So I went in the house at 5 o'clock. I called transportation again. I got another man. He said, I'm sorry, I have no idea what goes on here before 5 o'clock. And I said, well, can you give me Francisco's telephone number? I'll call him tomorrow morning. So I did. So I explained the situation to Francisco, and he said, well, that happened because of the road work. But tomorrow there will be buses running. So I called back to transportation a few minutes later and said, I understand that the bus will come today to pick me up. And I just spoke to Francisco, so that's what he told me. So anyway, I did get picked up, and then I couldn't get a ride home from where I was going to 4 o'clock, but that was okay. I can, usually bring reading material. But I think that if there is some way that they could email me or something and say, I'm sorry, but you won't have any bus service today, because of road work, it would be nice, because it was very frustrating to go out twice thinking that I was going to an appointment that I couldn't go to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Blomgren.
Hello. I'm here on behalf of my neighbor. She would be here, but she fell and she's in the hospital. So, but she goes to church every Sunday. She calls, the bus comes. But there is, sometimes there are cul-de-sacs, one here and one there. So she gets a ride to church all by herself. And the lady over here gets a ride to church all by herself. And she says, well, I could go over there and you could pick both of us up. No, I have to pick you up at the cul-de-sac where your address is. And I can't arrange to do that. And it seems very, very impractical financially to send one bus around to each little place when they could have a bus that goes to the church and picks everybody up. We're going to this church, we're going to that church. Anyway, that's the suggestion of my neighbor.
Thank you, Ben.
No more speakers.
No more speakers, okay. Are you ready to answer some of those things, please, sir? Because you have,
I'd rather give it to the committee.
and the committee members first. On any of these situations. Go ahead, Judith.
I just want to thank everyone for coming up and telling us your story, especially to Refugio, Mrs. Portella. I know it's hard sometimes to come up and put your heart out to us, but I want to tell everyone who was brave enough to come up and tell you, a lot of these problems we have heard before, and we are working on as many as we can, as fast as we can. Several of them, I know, are being addressed right at this moment, and I'm sure staff will speak to them, especially the computer problems we're having. Our IT specialist, I don't believe, is here. He would have been able to tell you some of the problems, but I'm sure Chris is very aware and can speak to that next. I just want to apologize for those who have been horribly inconvenienced by our system that has some glitches in it at this time, because I have experienced the same thing. So I just feel really bad, and I hope you take our apology. Thank you.
Anybody else? Judy?
Yeah, first of all, and Ms. Portela, I know what you mean about some of the laundry rooms with the steps now, but, because I almost cracked my skull, where my regular laundry room, there's no step at all. It's just, you can take a wheelchair, anything right in there. But one day it was completely full, and there's another one nearby, and I went down to that one, and I had my cart that I was pushing, and I just assumed it was I just assumed there was no step. And man, anyway, clothes flew everywhere. It was, rather amusing if you were watching, not doing it. But anyway, you might look around in your neighborhood or have one of your neighbors, friends, and find you one that doesn't have any step, because most of them don't have steps. I have two near me that are just flat, and then one that has a step. So that's what, I was just answering your question.
I understand that, but of course, that is a situation not on the bus committee.
Well,
I'm simply saying, you're trying to answer that, and that's fine, and you did.
I have one on that is about the buses, but not for her. Well, kind of not for her. It's not for her. Anyway, good luck. Mrs. Lindner, Rhoda Lindner, I didn't get your, where do you live? If you want, I'll give you a ride on Saturday or Sunday if you find me afterwards. Well, I have a golf cart.
Not a solution.
Well, I know it's not, but I'll give you a ride to the Bonanza thing.
It's not about me personally, it's about getting
No, I got your point, but I just thought I'd help out if I could, because you sounded disappointed. Sorry. Sorry, Ray. Done.
Good.
Apparently, there's a considerable amount of problems we're having with our communication system. And I think I've heard that several times from several people, and I don't know how it's going to be handled, Chris, but hopefully, maybe we need some more people. Maybe we need some more people handling the phones. Because when you have a multitude of people calling to get a ride, I think it's important that we get back to them as quickly as possible because time is important, and particularly for those of us that are on the elderly stage now. Thank you.
You're awfully right with what's saying we need more people, but you have to understand, this is a committee. We have to take this information,
Right.
which staff is trying to do, and then it has
Right.
to be presented properly in order to get quote-unquote the monies.
Right.
We constantly get, we're spending this, that, and the other. The reason for the consultant to come in was to try to eliminate some of the challenges you
Right.
folks had presented. That's why they made it. I'm sorry. That's why some of you folks have made complaints, and they're trying to address them. That's why the consultant was brought in. Sure, it costs money to do that, but I believe with what is going to come up here shortly, with some of the things that they have already changed and improved, under the limit of what we can do right now, it's going to be presented in a moment. That's why this specialty meeting was being called, so that they'll be able to make a presentation to you as to what, where, when, why, and how. So if you will, just give them a minute, we'll go from it. You've spoken once.
Oh, I thought this was a committee.
You're not on the committee, ma'am.
No, I thought this was a committee meeting or a special meeting that we could speak.
You had your chance to speak, ma'am, and
Well,
we're
I
going
didn't-
to be
I didn't-
making some
I
addressing
want to know
here.
how we're going to get to the community center.
We're
because
going
it's
to be
not on
telling
here.
you that.
Okay.
The gentleman that's going to try to explain that to you, it's in the report. And this is why some of this has been done specially on the situation here where we can only do X amount at this point in time. We're going to have a special meeting after this is done to go through VMS and through the different boards in order to get additional monies that are necessary. You're right, we may need 4 or 5 telephone people, but maybe there's another way to handle it. He will probably be able to give you some of the answers right now. Then we'll go in, all of your questions, all of your suggestions have been taken down, and they will be considered. So let's give them a chance now and see what staff has brought forth so far.
We had one person that didn't get to ask the question because she didn't know how to fill out the blue card. We just had a member come. Exactly.
I'm sorry, what?
Can she come up and speak? She didn't understand the system, so she didn't fill out the blue card. But she has now, so if you could call her up.
That would be fine, but please, did you fill out the card, maybe if not?
Betty Crucis.
Betty Cruci? Is that it? Is it Cruci? Crucis, yes. Well, I was trying to see if it was right. My name is Gross, and I can't help it.
Okay, my name is Betty Crucis. I'm at 170 Avenida Mallorca, Unit B. And I've got to say that every one of the bus drivers are so nice. I could never pick out which is the best one. They're all so good and they're all so helpful. Not just for me, but for everybody else. I watch how they do that. I think it's wonderful. I don't know where you got that many really people that really help. Anyhow, I have a question. I have a scooter, and everybody knows what a scooter is, don't they? I can go pretty far on my scooter, and they do let me on the bus with it. I don't know what the rules and regulations are, but they all seem, the drivers help me. They practically put it on for me, and I think that's great of them. I could probably drive onto it. Sometimes I can, but it takes a while. And I know everybody's in a hurry, even though we're all old and we have no place to go anyhow. So
They do, riding the bus. I've only been riding it for a month or two, and I've lived here about 17 years. I never thought it would come to this, but when the doctors told me, no, you can't drive anymore. So this keeps me from being housebound, you know. And I can go any place around here with it, and it's really, it's very helpful to everyone. You can do shopping, you can go to meetings or anything like that, and I think it's great. And I think and probably this is the only place I ever heard that they have free buses. This is amazing to me. Anyhow, I want to thank everybody because though the buses do teach you patience because sometimes you have to wait more than 30 minutes to get a bus. It's according to where you end up. Anyhow, I would like to know if there's any rules or regulations about my little scooter. I know we tried to put it on the one special bus, and it's just about that much too long for it. But it takes care of me, because I can actually scooter over to Clubhouse One and catch a bus that way, which I do. It's great. Anyhow, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank all of the bus drivers for me.
Yeah. Speaking of bus drivers, every one of those bus drivers were consulted as you folks made a request. That's why he's going to give us some answers on some of the stuff. That's why the consultant spoke to the bus drivers as well and got feedback from them. So they have not been ignored. They have been spoken to. And I believe we're going to get some good information here in a moment. Then there will be probably more thoughts to go forward for other situations. But let's give it a chance on this now. Okay? Are you ready, sir?
Sure.
All right.
Okay, first I would just like to start and say thank you for all those comments, especially the positive ones that we got on the bus drivers. You're exactly right. We do have a great group of drivers. They are patient, extremely helpful. I get a lot of great comments, cards from a lot of you about that, and just trust me, they do get recognized. Anytime we do get a formal thank you or card or anything, we try to publicize that as much as we can just to make them feel welcome and thanked, because they do have a tough job and we do have a good crew of bus drivers. So I just wanted to thank you for recognizing them during this time. So as I start my presentation here, I would just like to say one more thank you to the community and the fact that, I mean, I started here in December, less than a year ago. This was one of my big projects. I've got to know many of you, and what a great group of people you are. Your hearts are all in the right place, and that you just want the bus system to be better. And I can assure you that that's my desire as well. I've had it's been a very educating experience for me to learn about this system a little better, to come up with some good recommendations. I believe that's going to help everybody. So I just wanted to thank you all before I give my presentation. Just I wanted to give for some of the new members here and for the new members in the audience, I just wanted to give a quick history and background of kind of how we got here, at least from my perspective as the new manager. One of my first assignments when I got here, in fact, my very first day on the job, was sitting on the pre-bid meeting for a consultant to fix the bus system. That was my welcome to the village, I guess. So, but we hired a consultant, and then that was done on March 5th. The GRF board hired Fair and Piers, which is a very well-respected transportation consultant. They had provided, as you know, they did a lot of community surveys, a lot of community engagement. They talked to a lot of you. I know they got input from the board. They got input from the bus drivers. They did a really good job from my perspective of finding out exactly what the community wants and needs to give them a baseline to help improve our bus operation. On October 2nd, at the last MMV meeting, they did make a lot of formal recommendations that a lot of you know about. And honestly, a lot of those recommendations as staff, I'm recommending that we go with them. So just wanted to give you a brief history of how we got here. Do you have the PowerPoint?
While you're waiting, what is your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Chris Logenauer. I'm the Senior Transportation and Maintenance Manager.
And on the boards, on the walls, you'll notice what he's going to be talking about will give you a good idea of what's going on.
It's not the right one. There we go.
There we are.
Okay, go to the third slide. Okay, the preliminary findings, go back, I'm sorry, Liz. There we go. The preliminary findings that Fair and Peers came up with, which many of you have brought up today and throughout this past year, is obviously many of the residents rely on the transportation program. It's one of the main reasons why a lot of people decide to move to the village, is because they know at some point they're going to need a reliable transportation system. They also determined that the fixed route service is inefficient. It takes way too long to get from point A to point B. There was also a big request to bring back some of the weekend systems. Going to the Plannerite system, it has some serious issues related to demand. Part of the reasons is because that was opened up. It went from a paratransit service to a service that was open up to all residents, which put a great demand on staff, and a number of phone calls obviously just skyrocketed because it went from a very small system that was just open to a few to opened up to everybody, and it created a backlog in our phone answering system. The planner ride, they determined is insufficient for the weekend service. There was just too much demand. And also the perception of insufficiency due to large buses carrying a few passengers. I mean, I noticed it when I got here. A lot of times you'll see a bus go by with only one or two people in it. It gives a perception of inefficiency. So those are some of the preliminary findings. What they came up with was some preliminary recommendations, primarily with the fixed route system, of which they shared on the second, was making it a neighborhood-based system, developing a commercial route and a wellness route, and we'll be going over all these in more detail. They recommend operating the system on Saturdays. They recommended revising the planner ride to go back to the prioritizing for those disabled customers, more of a paratransit system. Improving the planner ride scheduling and telephone systems. And yes, we are aware of the issues with the telephone systems and the scheduling. That's been a major part of the study. And then also identify some potential partnerships with AgeWell Senior Services or some other local transportation companies. So that was kind of the groundwork that was given to staff. And then it was basically my charge to match this up with our existing resources that we have and to come up with a plan to present you all today. Go to the next one. So basically what we have come up with, and again, these are recommendations for the M&V committee. There'll be recommendations going next week to the GRF committee. But to put the plan together, I had to make two basic assumptions. One is that I wanted to keep the service hours to remain the same. We did not want to reduce service level hours in any way because the community spoke loud and clear that they liked the bus service and they like it during the hours that they had. But the biggest challenge was taking all these wonderful ideas and tying it into the approved 2020 budget. Unfortunately, we don't have an unlimited budget here to provide this transportation service that can meet everybody's needs. So the GRF approved a 2020 operational budget. So my recommendations are to put together the best plan that stays within that budget. So I'd like to start off with the proposed recommendations for the fixed route system. Again, we are looking at going to 6 neighborhood routes. The biggest improvement that I see in this is instead of a hour-long wait that it's going to take each bus to make the circular route in 1 hour, which is how it is now, each pickup will be every 30 minutes. So instead of having to wait a potential hour, the longest you will wait is 30 minutes to be picked up from your neighborhood. Additionally, we are recommending the creation of a wellness route. So once you get dropped off to Clubhouse 1, there'll be a bus there to take you directly to any of the doctor's appointments without having to go through commercial stops. In that point, there'll just be a direct route, particularly to the doctor's offices. Then there'll be a commercial route that has the hub at Clubhouse 1, and that'll basically be dropping everybody off at the various commercial areas throughout the village. And in a minute, Francisco will be going through a lot of the details and showing you the exact maps for these individual routes. Finally, as I've mentioned, we're looking at Clubhouse 1 serving as the hub for all transfers. We are recommending service on the fixed route to be increased to go to Saturdays. And we are also looking, again, when we looked at the overall budget, we're also looking at recommending that we suspend service only on the neighborhood routes a half hour per day between 12:30 and 1 to cover for breaks for the bus drivers. When we were looking closely at the cost and the operation, we found out that it cost a little over $40,000 a year to cover the staff lunches for our bus operations, which I thought was a lot of money. So we wanted to throw out the idea of, just for the neighborhood routes, not for the commercial routes, of instead of spending the $40,000 and the craziness of scheduling, just suspend service for that half-hour period. The drivers get their lunches, and then the service would start over again. The only other change that I didn't put on here is this would be going from an 8-bus system to a 9-bus system. So in essence, the additions to the fixed route would be going from 8 buses that we currently have that run Monday through Friday with 1-hour intervals. We're recommending going to a 9-bus system going Monday through Saturday with half-hour intervals. So we would be adding an additional day and reducing the amount of wait time theoretically from a 1 hour to a half-hour time to potentially wait for your bus. So those were some of the benefits that we saw out of the fixed route. I'm going to turn it over to Francisco, and he's going to get into a little bit more detail of the specific routes themselves.
Hello, how are you? Okay, Route 1, it will be departing Clubhouse 1, and it will go into Gate 10, servicing the towers. It will be going through Bahia Blanca West, Avenida Sosiega, Monte Hermoso, Clubhouse 5 on request, Punta Alta, Algarrobo, Gate 10, and Clubhouse 2 as a request. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Because they're not in order.
Okay.
You want to do that again?
I'm going to start again, okay? For Route 1, we have Clubhouse 1 as a starting point. It will be going down Calle Aragon, by El Toro Lutheran Church on request. The usual stop, the OCTA bus stop on El Toro. From there, we'll go to Clubhouse 7 on request. The next stop will be Gate 11 on request. The next one will be Gate 10 entrance into the towers. From there, the bus will go to Cabildo, Bahía Blanca West, Avenida Sosiega, Monte Hermoso, Clubhouse 5 on request. The next stop will be Punta Alta, Algarrobo 5368 on request. Algarrobo, cul-de-sacs 335, 336 on request. Gate 10, Clubhouse 7 on the outbound from Gate 10 on request, 2 and 7, and then getting back to Clubhouse 1 30 minutes past the hour. And then the route will start again. It will repeat itself again. That will be the route 1. The next route 2. The departure will be Clubhouse 1, entering through Gate 7, going down Paseo del Lago East, servicing the towers, Paseo del Lago West, San Amadeo, Via Carrizo, Alta Vista. It will be departing out Gate 7. These particular buses will be serving as Stater Brothers for the residents who reside at the towers, because that was one of the main topics when they did the survey, and they were saying it was too long for the residents to get to Stater Brothers. So this will be the bus servicing that particular area from the towers, a direct trip to Stater Brothers. After that, the bus will continue on Toro Road back to Calle Aragon to Clubhouse 1, and that will be Route 2. Okay, next one. Route 3 will be servicing Gate 8, Gate 7, Gate 14, and Gate 3. This particular route will be departing Clubhouse 1, same request stop for the Lutheran Church and the Catholic Church, which is on El Toro Road, the OCTA bus stop. After that, the bus will be servicing the Clubhouse 2 and 7 on request. It will go up Santa Maria into Gate 8. From that moment on, the bus will service Via Serena North and South, Alta Vista, Calle Sonora. It will depart out Gate 7 into Gate 14. That bus will service the Calle Sonora, cul-de-sacs 401 to 409. It will exit Gate 14, and also that will be one of the stops for the residents who reside in Gate 14, and that will be the chance for them to get off the bus at the OCTA bus stop so they can go to Stater Brothers. That bus will continue straight down to Moulton Parkway. It will access into the village through Gate 3. That will give support to the other routes when I get to them, so it will make more sense. And then the bus will continue on Calle Aragon, Sevilla, and then it will go back to Clubhouse 1. So that's Route 3. The next route, Route 4, it will be servicing only Gate 5 and Clubhouse 4. That's very self-explanatory, just one bus. You can complete the route in 30 minutes. You can go back and forth because that bus is just right across from Gate 1 area. And since the main hub is gonna be Clubhouse 1, so that will be the bus servicing Gate 5. The next one. Clubhouse Route 5. This particular bus will be servicing Clubhouse 3. Clubhouse 1, it will go Calle Aragon, cul-de-sac 26 on request, Avenida Carmel, Sevilla, Castilla. It will go down Sevilla, Calle Aragon, Calle Cadiz, Avenida Sevilla. It will go to Clubhouse 3. That will stop the problem that we had with the current service system that the people have to request Clubhouse 3 because there's not a turnaround for those buses to go by. So this bus will be going through by Clubhouse 3 every 10 minutes after the hour. So Calle Aragon, Avenida Mallorca, Avenida Sevilla, back to Calle Aragon, and back to Clubhouse 1. And this route will take about 25 minutes, the loop, every 25 minutes or so. Route 6. This particular route will service Calle Aragon, Via Estrada, Avenida Mallorca, Avenida Sevilla, Ronda Sevilla. Cul-de-sac 70 will be on request. Cul-de-sac 73, 80, 85, 84 will be on request. Ronda Mendoza, cul-de-sac 82 will be as request. Via Los Altos, will service cul-de-sac 93, 91. Cul-de-sac 13 will remain as a request as it is right now. Via La Alhambra will be cul-de-sac 94 and 95. Via Mendoza, cul-de-sac 81. Avenida Sevilla from cul-de-sac 12 to cul-de-sac 11. Via Estrada, Calle Aragon, and back to Clubhouse 1. The next route. This particular wellness route, it will service all the medical areas. The bus will be departing Calle Aragon, and it will go all the way up Sevilla, going from cul-de-sac 1 to 13. It will exit gate 4. It will allow residents who need to make appointments, so they visit the Dental Plaza, which is in Laguna Hills Drive and Paseo de Valencia. That will be a request stop like the old system. The Medical Arts Building as well will be another request stop, since it's a lot closer from gate 4 versus gate 2. So it will be an easy access for the bus to go drop off people to those locations and keep on going on the route. The next major stop will be the Taj Mahal. This will be a request. All the medical buildings along Calle de la Luisa, which is the medical glass building, the medical towers, and the hospital. And from there, the bus will continue back into gate 2. It will access via Estrada, Calle Aragon, and it will go back to Clubhouse 1. Okay, that's the wellness route. And the last route will be the commercial east and the commercial west. On the commercial east, will depart Clubhouse 1, Avenida Sevilla, the first major location or the major store will be CVS drugstore. It will go down La Plata. Ruby's on the Mall will be a request. Trader Joe's will be the major commercial location. Oakbrook Village, Marshall's, Caballeros, OCTA Transportation Center, Paseo de Valencia. It will go back on El Toro Road and go back into the gate 1. That will be the first half of the route. That part of the route will take about 25 to 30 minutes. And then the second part of that route, it will continue on the west side, which will be the Avenida Sevilla. It will stop at El Toro Road, Lutheran Church on request, Molton Parkway. It will go down Santa Maria. These particular commercial routes will not service Clubhouse 2 or 7 due to the restriction of time. If the residents would like to go to Clubhouse 2 or 7, they will have to use the residential routes due to the fact of the timing. So if we want this to work, those buses will need to remain only on the commercial part of the routes. From there, the bus will continue on to Molton Plaza, Big Lots, Senior Center, all the commercial areas right there on that part of the Molton Plaza. They will depart and it will stop at the town center, which is here, the community center. And then it will go across the street to Stater Brothers, and then Aldi, and then back to Clubhouse 1. And that's the commercial route, the number 8 and 9. So the commercial 2, it is the same, but this particular route, when it departs Clubhouse 1, it will be heading off to Molton Plaza, Town Center, Stater Brothers, Aldi's, and then back to Clubhouse 1. And then 30 minutes past the hour, the bus will depart again. It will services CVS, the Calle de la Plata, and then it will go down to Trader Joe's, and then it will come back to Clubhouse 1. So we calculate it's about 25 to 30 minutes, and that will be the whole commercial part of the route. So like we said before, it's going to be 2 buses servicing this particular commercial area. One will head over and service the east at the beginning of the first 30 minutes, and then it will go back into the other part of the route to complete the hour, which is the west side of the town. And that's the route system.
Thanks. What's important to remember on the commercial routes, it looks like we're going a long way, but please understand, we got 2 buses kind of making a figure 8. While one's going north, the other one's going south. So it's a lot of stops, but it's 2 buses kind of going opposite directions, meeting in the middle, then going opposite directions again. So the theory behind it is you have these neighborhood routes, get picked up every 30 minutes. They get dropped off at Clubhouse 1 for either the wellness route or the commercial route. You'll pick up the bus for those. And depending on which commercial route you'll go to, you'll either go east or west. And if you need to go to both, you'll be able to just stay on the one bus and take you from one to the other. Yeah.
Quick question. What happens if you get behind schedule? How do you get back on schedule? In other words, there's a traffic situation and the schedule's all screwed up. How do you, what are the consequences and where do you go from there?
Well, in those instances, we're hoping that doesn't happen. In those instances, we're looking at creating a backup bus, especially at the beginning, because we figured at the beginning where there's going to be a few, we know it's not going to run entirely smooth at the very beginning. So while we're working out the bugs to make this work, we're looking at potentially putting a third commercial bus in there to help us catch up if needed. But the plan is to make it such that the drivers and the residents get familiar with it, so we don't get behind schedule. That's why we took the time to make sure that these routes were something that we could actually do. When Fair and Pierce first put this proposal together, we had to narrow it down in scope a little bit because they were just too broad, and we knew that we'd be getting behind schedule. So it's something that we're working very hard on. At the beginning, we are going to have kind of a third bus in there just to kind of help us out while we work out the bugs.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Any questions from the committee? I would hope that if you really look at this document that you should have in front of you with staff's report, it should hopefully answer a lot of your questions and maybe propose additional items as a result of staff's report. You got the recommendation, you got the background, you've got the discussion factor, you've got the fixed route system, you got the plan a ride system, and there's a lot, and you also have the financial analysis so that you know what's going on in a situation. I think it'll help if you just take the time to really, when you leave, read it over, and you, again, you may be surprised and you may have some good answers, but again, you may have additional ones brought. We have a question. Go ahead. I'm sorry?
We're not done finishing.
Yeah, we're not done with it just yet, so. Yeah, I know, we have more on. I'm just wanting to let them know on this particular area. I know we have 9 to go, and that's true, but I thought I'd mention this because that's really important. This document gives out a lot of good information.
I'd like to, before we take it for questions, I'd like to continue on with the report because there is more to the proposed changes than just the fixed route. We heard loud and clear from the community that the changes need to be made to the plan a ride system, specifically going back to what used to be called the lift system, or what I call the paratransit system, to prioritize those requests for those people with medical needs or conditions. And so we are recommending that we reinstitute the lift system, which is a call-in service for residents who've been medically assessed and need that one-on-one paratransit mode of transportation. We're looking at identifying 2 minivans that are handicap access, operating 7 days a week between the hours of 8 to 5, where they would get the priorities for all what we're used to call plan a ride trips. Part of the problems that we're having with plan a ride right now is it's first come, first serve for everybody. And so a lot of times those people with medical needs, they need it, but the buses just aren't available because they're filled up by other people. So we are prioritizing what we used to call the LIFT program. We are changing the name to something different. We're going to be calling it the Journey program. But we are recommending that we reinstitute that program, designating 2 handicap accessible minivans to operate 7 days a week between 8 and 5, and the participation would require an eligibility assessment. In addition to that, in addition, the next slide. Liz. There it is. The next slide, we're looking to, in order to provide service that for those residents who are not deemed medically accountable for the Journey program, we're looking at entering into negotiations with Lyft Rideshare to provide on-call transportation services early in the mornings between 8 and 9 a.m. and the evening hours, Monday through Saturday, from 5 to 10, and also on Sundays between the hours of 8 to 5. So in essence, through negotiations with Lyft, if we're approved to do that, we would basically, you would only have to call or make a reservation 10, 15 minutes beforehand, either through your phone, through an app on your phone, and if you do not have a phone or you do not feel comfortable using a phone, they offer what's called a concierge service, which we would be setting up a special phone line. Trust me, it's not the regular transportation phone line. We would take care of that and make sure we have staff available to help you set up that ride share line automatically. And so you would have somebody come to your doorstep, just like a Lyft or Uber ride that you would request now, within anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes. They would be at your door and take you wherever you would like to go, as long as it is within the village between those hours, and that would be at no cost to the resident. It's something that I see as an efficiency improvement. There'd be no need to schedule the plan and going through the telephone hassles of trying to schedule something for 3-4 days in advance. It's going to be a whole lot cheaper. The Lyft ride shares would be anywhere from $6 to $8 a ride to the village. Currently, just so you're aware, the plan a ride is costing the village budget anywhere from $18 to $20 per ride. So it's an expensive way to do it. Using a company like Lyft or something like that, it would be much more cost effective and much more efficient to the user, because they wouldn't have to call days in advance. They would call or use their phone, get somebody to pick you up within 10 minutes and take you where you need to go. Again, we would be offering those services or recommending offering those services, again, during those times that the fixed route is not scheduled. So that would be from 8 to 9 in the morning, 5 to 10 in the evening, and all day Sunday between 8 and 5. So those are our two recommendations for the revising the plan-a-ride system. The other thing I wanted to mention, and some people brought it up, is the Transportation Division is also responsible for other programs that impact our operation. I have brought up destination shopping at many meetings. We provide docent tours for marketing. Once a week, we're providing services to them. We offer the buses for recreation excursions 1 day a month, and we also offer shuttles for special events, including 4th of July Holiday Light Tour. We do help out with the Bonanza. I know that there's been some questions about that. We do offer one shuttle this upcoming weekend going from Clubhouse 1 up to Clubhouse. What's that again?
Clubhouse 1.
Okay. Go ahead.
The bus will service Clubhouse 1, Clubhouse 3, and it will go to Clubhouse 4, and it will be about 10 or 15 minutes intervals in between stops.
Yeah, I bring up those excursions because there are some people have brought it up, and I know that there's shared cost task force out there, and that's perhaps some of these excursions or tours staff can identify, or the task force can potentially identify some of these things for shared cost opportunities. But I just wanted to share with the group that in addition to the plan-a-ride and the fixed route, the transportation system is also impacted by some of these other internal programs as well. And finally, I'd like to kind of wrap this up, if I could, by, again, incorporating the financial analysis, okay? We're tied to a budget, and I'm using the 2020 budget as my guide to put this together. We have an operating budget for transportation of just under $2 million. Now, that seems like a lot of money, but when you compare it to previous years, that's the lowest the transportation budget has been in many, many, many years. But it's what was approved for 2020, so that's what I'm going with. It includes the equivalent of 16, little over 16 and a half full-time employee bus drivers. That's both full-time and part-time. We have full-time employee support, 5 full-timers, support staff that work directly for Francisco. We have 2 coordinators, 2 schedulers to help make this thing run. Then we have administrative costs like staff training, supplies, software, contractual responsibilities, and those things. Additionally, the way our budget process works is we also, within that $2 million, we have just under $700,000 budgeted in what's called allocated expenses. And those cover such things as maintenance of the vehicles, fuel costs, overhead, some of, like a portion of my time, and some of those finance department costs and things of that sort. So I just want to give you an overview of the budget that we're looking at. So even though it shows a budget of $2 million, I mean, $700,000 of that goes for fuel and maintenance and things like that, which kind of takes a good chunk out of it. So the rest goes primarily to drivers' salaries and benefits and support staff salary and benefits. If you can go to the next slide, Liz. Finally, I just kind of want to give a comparison to show in the approved 2020 budget, what was approved under the current system, under how the budget would break out with the proposed system. The fixed route system right now, we budget, and this is primarily for staff salaries and benefits, just under $500,000 to take care of the 5-day-a-week, 8-bus fixed route system. By adding an additional bus, going an additional day, that increases the cost of operation by about $155,000 to offer that Saturday service. I feel comfortable recommending that because through the surveying, we heard loud and clear, and Fair and Pierce heard loud and clear that the Saturday service is a desired service to the community. So that was my number one priority, putting this thing together and making it all work, was figure out a way to make this happen by including Saturdays at a minimum. So that's why it's included. I put in there the next line. I mentioned it briefly earlier. We currently pay about $40,000 a year to cover lunches for our bus drivers. Again, by just eliminating service for a few routes for a 30-minute time frame, we can save roughly $40,000. So as staff, that's what I'm recommending. Our current planner ride system, as it is set up now, costs a little over $336,000. And again, that's how it's constituted right now. My recommendations for what we're calling the Journey program, which is the old Lyft program, that would reduce the cost down to $73,000. And we have the word in there, boost, and I apologize, I forgot to mention what that was. The boost program is what we would be calling the program if we entered into a contract with the Lyft rideshare. So I'm assuming, I made the assumption of $70,000 for that service, which is totaling $143,000, which would be a big savings under the planner ride, which would basically help offset the cost of the increase to the fixed route system. Our tours and excursions, I left the same. Allocated expenses, I assume there was a $50,000 increase in allocated expenses. That is purely an estimate, but that would be to cover additional fuel costs, additional maintenance costs, tied in with the expansion of the fixed route system. Granted, we would be losing some of the planner ride buses, but those are smaller buses. The wear and tear on those buses aren't nearly what the fixed route buses entail. So I put in a figure of $50,000 additional for fuel and maintenance for our buses, and then leaving the administrative and scheduling and training, the support staff figure the same. By making these proposed changes, it would result in roughly a $30,000 overall operating savings to the transportation system. So I feel comfortable doing this. I think it's something that provides a better overall service, a more efficient service, serving more days at, bottom line, at a cheaper cost. So I'll be open to any questions that you might have.
Judith?
Okay. I just want to say, as the previous chair of this committee, I am very impressed with your diligence and what you have done with the recommendations from Fair and Pierce. And I think it's absolutely commendable that you brought us here. I'm just so impressed.
Go ahead.
We were previously told a couple of months ago that going to 7-day-a-week fixed ride would be about $560,000, and now it looks like it wouldn't cost that much. So just off the top of your head, if we were to go to a 7-day fixed ride, we'd say we wouldn't do the boost. How much would it cost?
I figured that one out just for you, John, so.
What's that?
No, if we were to do the operating 7 days a week, it would increase that fixed route budget by $80,000 to operate 7 days a week. Again, my concern with doing the fixed route on Sundays is the fixed route does really not tie in to providing service to those people who need to go to the various and variety of church services throughout the committee. There would not be a natural flow to getting people back and forth to the church on Sunday mornings.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is it really true that you could get Lyft to provide services, LYFT? Okay, because Brad checked into Uber, and their corporate headquarters turned it down.
No, Lyft has recently, and I've done a little bit of homework on it. They have similar programs throughout the area. Specifically, the city of Monrovia has done something similar, and they have set up programs specifically for smaller entities like us. And the nice part about it, without going into too much detail, is through their system, they can do geofences just within our village transportation system to ensure that people aren't abusing the system. And it's a program that they have recently set up. We did check with Uber to see if Uber offered something similar. They do not. This is something that Lyft is kind of, I guess, trying to get a head start on their competition a little bit. But it's something that they have done, they are doing, and I kind of like the fact that we're not a guinea pig and not being the first one, because they can learn from their lessons from other people.
Another question. For each of the programs, are they going to have their own dedicated phone number?
Yes, the existing the existing phone system, I'm aware of the problems. We are looking at setting up individual phone numbers. So if you had to call in for what I'm calling a boost program, you would not call the general transportation number. It would be a separate number that we would have just for that. And I would also be making sure that staff is going to be available to make sure that they pick up and answer the phone.
I just wanted to say, as I believe the only regular bus riding director, I think I'm still the only one. But as a director, like my colleague Judith, I really appreciate your presentation. It was done well. And as a writer, I'm just really, really excited. So thanks for all your work, and I can't wait to see it in action.
I'd just like to say, Judith has said, I've made recommendations before. I've indicated what this gentleman has done. We bought a vehicle before where people haven't had challenges, is what I like to say. If they're in a wheelchair and so forth, we would secure them in the rear and then take them where they had to go. Now, our new vehicle has 2 seats in there so that if you have an attendant or someone else that needs to be with them, they're right there with them. And that in itself, we have 2 of those vehicles. That is phenomenal. And that gentleman did it. Staff, I'm serious. And we had several of our people went out and look at it to make sure that this was correct. And this is what he's trying to do. And the whole staff is trying to put together, we've listened to what you have to say, and we're really going to be trying to do the best for you. And again, like I say, this information put in this sheet is really of good value, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. Thank you very much.
We have speakers.
Speakers? Yes, she will.
Sue Ellen Zima.
Okay, on the issue of the transportation buses, probably in the commercial route, we do have a very difficult problem with loading the buses with all of the walkers. And if you're going commercial, you're going to have a cart, many people to carry the groceries or whatever. So, since we're having a lot of trouble already, how are we going to do it where you're going to have even more to deal with on each bus? And that's my first question. Do you want to answer that, and then I'll ask another one?
Yeah, as we put the route timing together, because we've timed these routes pretty extensively, we've tried to incorporate the time that it takes to get people on and off the buses. In addition to that, by going back to the, again, I'll call it the old lift system, but I'm trying to use a new terminology of our journey system, where we're providing a much better service to those people that do have the walkers, the riders that need that more one-on-one care that causes delay in the fixed routes. We're hoping then that there won't be some of those delays that there are now.
But I guess I don't understand. It's not the lift system, it's just the commercial route. And so there will be a lot of carts and all, and we've been having more and more trouble getting those in the buses. Some of the drivers are very good at figuring out where to put all these things. So lift is a different thing, but for the commercial routes, how are you going to keep those buses from becoming overcrowded with all of the paraphernalia that people bring?
I believe the answer to the question will be, since the routes will be touching Clubhouse 1 as a main hub every 30 minutes, if there is 6 or 7 or 10 people out there, they will be able to get back to Clubhouse 1 and transfer to their home bus. So that will open up the space on the buses. I don't think people will be going from the east to the west and from the west to the east. I'm pretty sure it's, because the main concern was the length of time of travel from point A to point B was between 45 to 50 minutes. Now it's going to be 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes. So I don't think the space is going to be the issue.
Okay, and are we still going to have the overflow bus?
The idea here is that commercial route will start at 9:30 to do the overflow at the end of the day, meaning that the route will start at 9 o'clock, the fixed residential will start at 9 a.m., and the commercial route will begin at 9:30. So that way it will be overlap, and that will take care of the overflow at the end of the day.
So what time will the last bus be if there's no overflow?
5:30. The 5:30, the remainder of the people on the buses, they will be taken home by the commercial routes.
Okay.
Make sense?
And I'm trying to understand this system of calling Lyft. So let's say you have a meeting at a clubhouse. There are 10 people in the village who want to go to that meeting who need transportation. So each one of those 10 people, excuse me, would call this Lyft number, not the Lyft for the disabled people, but this Lyft number, and say, I need to be there at such and such a time. And so there'd be 10 different Lyft vehicles that would be picking up those 10 people and in other words, how is the shared part? Or isn't there a shared part?
Well, that if there's two of you that live close by and you wanted to share what I'm trying to change the terminology, a journey vehicle, which is the old Lyft. I mean, if you had a a
Not the
neighbor and
old-
you were both going to. What's that?
Booster, I think you're calling it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting confused with all the names too.
Uh-huh.
With the boost system, if you and your neighbor are both going to the same place, you can make one phone call or one thing, and the boost vehicle will take you where you want to go.
But that's if I know that person is going.
Correct.
Normally, I don't know who's going to the meeting. So
Correct.
I just have to call and make a plan for me.
Yes.
Whether the Lyft driver picks up 2 people or more.
You would make it for yourself.
So I just make it for myself.
Correct.
And how are we going to handle going to the grocery store at night? Because you're going to have this available till 10, like
Correct.
the bus now. So would a Lyft bus, we're saying Lyft, would that be able to accommodate a cart?
Yes.
That you could put in there? Because it's just a car, it's not a bus, it's not a ramp.
Yeah, it's no different than when you go on vacation and you have luggage. If you use a similar system, you just put it in their trunk and take it home. So it would be able to take a cart.
But you can't roll it up the.
No, it'd be an individual vehicle that picks
All
you
right,
up.
well, I'll let you know after I try this. And there's no charge. And that's not going to be more expensive, it's going to be less.
It's less expensive. There's no charge as long as the trip stays within the current transportation boundaries
Okay,
of what we currently serve now. I don't want to say village boundaries because we provide service out.
Right.
So wherever we provide service now, it would be the same for the Boost program.
okay. I hope if the program works, it sticks, because they could change their mind any day. Okay.
Judith?
Okay, as to Sue Ellen's first question, I'm very familiar with the problem where we've had up to 10 carts, 14 walkers all on one bus. Don't forget, that commercial route's the one that's going to have 2 buses. So technically, you can look at it that 2 buses are going to be handling 14 carts. So they'd be split up, maybe 7 and 7, it'd be much more doable. And so don't forget, that's the route where we've implemented 2 buses.
Pat Blomgren.
I'm wondering, my brother and I were talking, and we said, what did we do when we used to have a problem, got stuck in the snow, and we didn't have cell phones? We said, I don't know. We just waited till somebody came and helped us, or whatever. Maybe we walked. But that put me in mind of, is there somebody who's going to be available for some unforeseen emergency outside the ordinary daytime, 5 o'clock, whatever your cutoff is, 10 o'clock at night? And I don't know what the emergency might be, but, is there one person who will answer the phone
Yes,
at 2
I'll-
o'clock in the morning or something?
If you have a situation like that, you call security.
Oh.
That has been known for a long time. You call security, then they will assist you. It's an emergency situation, period. That's it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what you would do.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Larry Irion.
First of all, I want to commend the staff on the wonderful work that they've done and all the hard work that they've put in on this, because especially on the financial end of it, saving $31,570 is not a little bit. That's a big chunk, and I thank you very much. I do have one brief suggestion primarily for Francisco, and that is on the commercial bus that goes to the west. If you could consider changing the direction and going first to Aldi's, Stater Brothers, and then to Stater Brothers. In my talking to people, there are a lot more people go to Stater Brothers and Aldi's than go to Big Lots. And if that could be reversed, it wouldn't make any difference in time. Just reverse the situation, go from go from Clubhouse 1, stop at Aldi's, go to Stater Brothers, then go to the administration building and on and on. And instead of going the other way, because I think it would save a lot of time on a lot of people. Please consider it. Thank you.
The only, can I answer? The only problem with that is a lot faster to make right turns than left. That is why we went that way, going right, and then left,
We've all
left,
been
left.
saying how great the drivers are, and they take left turns just as well as right.
But we can consider it.
Marilyn Handelman.
I too want to thank you for all your great work. You really have put a lot into it. However, maybe I'm not too bright, but I'm having trouble trying because using the buses is fairly new to me. And I've lost my independence of being able to walk out to my car and go where I want to go. I'm trying to figure, there are no transportation on Sunday, and yet there are so many things going on Sundays at the Clubhouse 3 or Clubhouse 5. And here we are again. How do you get there? In other words, instead of calling Plan a Ride, every time I go out on Sunday, I call Lyft.
That would be correct, yes.
Okay, and then my other concern is they stop, would you have them stopping at 5? Many times there are evening performances, there are no buses and no way to get there on a weekend.
They will stop wherever you request,
No,
wherever
I'm
you
talking
request to
about
go to.
time. If there's an evening event at Clubhouse 3, can you have them stopping at 5?
Right, like on Saturday night. On Saturday night at the PAC.
Yeah, Saturday nights, the boost program will go till 10 o'clock. It's on Sundays that it stops at 5 o'clock, and that's consistent with our current Plan a Ride program.
But if I want a bus now on Sunday night, Plan a Ride usually provides it for me, and there would be nothing. Is what I'm trying
Yeah,
to.
we currently do not provide Plan a Ride on Sunday evenings now.
Well, I've gotten them, so they picked me up and they've taken me, and this is where I'm very confused.
The city has a bus system also, or a taxi system. If you have an emergency situation or you need to go later on, and we can't provide 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can't do it. So I think it's $5 to go within the reasonable distance. It's like I say, normally,
Yeah.
8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock on Sunday evening, we certainly wouldn't have anybody, and you would have that availability. The city has that. Just a thought, just a thought.
No more speakers.
Yeah, well, but you have, don't you have to do the 9?
That's future.
Okay, all right. So we have to have the vote from the committee as to whether we want to proceed with this information and take it before the GRF board. Yes, no, anybody?
Okay. I move that we recommend to the GAF board the plan that has been presented today by staff.
We have a second?
I second it.
All right. All those in favor? Approved. Unanimous.
Now I have a question.
Did you have something else,
Yeah, this is a
Judith?
question after the fact. On page 8, it says the old Plan a Ride system, which will now be called Journey, those riders have to be approved through an eligibility assessment. Will GRF board be involved in designing the assessment process?
We'll be using the same assessment process that we used for the old lift.
Lift, okay.
So we have it available to us. I'm currently working on some options now to get that either free of charge or low cost. Because before we paid a premium for that service. I'm looking at options to reduce that cost.
Okay, thank you.
No, for the people who have already been pre-approved through the LIFT program in the past, that would just roll over. You wouldn't have to resubmit or go through the process at all.
I want to totally confirm that because otherwise you have to answer to Ms. Vashti Williams, our valued advisor who couldn't be here today. And so her question was, same thing, right? So that old list is still good?
Yes, it is.
Awesome, thank you very much. And Vashti thanks you.
Okay, the last section now. We're at number 9. Bus policy updates, please.
That'll just be for the next two.
That's for future agenda, and that's really important information, and the ADA policy is review as well. So in the next meeting, just to let you know, it's going to be December the 4th, but we have any committee member comments? We'll start at the far end. Any comments?
No. Yes, I'm very happy we had this meeting today because it's been quite frustrating for the last 4 years to have to, we went off that fixed bus system, and now we find out that we need it. And unfortunately, we had to spend $46,000 to have the consultants tell us that. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Elsie?
I have how can we put on new items for just on the
Future agenda.
The
future
future
items?
agenda.
Not necessarily for next month, but just for future agenda items? Can I? Sure. I've been asked to add a couple, or at least suggest them. One of them is, there's a lot of misunderstanding about the pay and increases in pay for the drivers and the dispatchers.
Oh, we can't talk.
And also the turnover rate, it was at least at one point seemed pretty high. So we're wondering about if that could be something we could bring up and then at it any time. And the second one is we talked about it before, about looking at volunteers to, maybe it's getting moot at this point, but otherwise volunteers from the village to man the phones to relieve the overworked employees a little bit. And that might be moot now, but isn't it? Okay.
No, that's something that is very important, especially as we roll this thing out. I know Larry has graciously volunteered to help, because we're going to need volunteers to help educate the community on these changes, see if we can get people to help answer phones. That's something that I want to push very strongly.
Okay, so can we formalize that into
He's got it
future
written down
agenda
now.
items?
He's got it written down. That's what you requested. He's got it now.
But what about agenda items? That's us, that's not him. Should we
That's
put
for
it-
future agenda. You asked.
Right.
He said yes.
He prepares the agenda.
He's going to
him and-
prepare
Oh,
that
you're
information.
going to prepare the agenda?
Him and the
He's going
chair.
to prepare
together.
it, yes.
Can I trust you on that like that?
Okay, just one question. What's the actual date of rollout?
We're pushing for January 2020, couple
Yeah,
months.
what day?
I don't have a date yet.
Oh, okay.
We have to get it approved first, then we can do the date.
Yes, I want to congratulate you, Chris. I did not expect this level of acceptance. It's just terrific.
Thank you.
I just thank you again. Thank you very much.
I have nothing.
Here again, I think staff have done a great job of preparing this, and it'll give you a lot of information to go over and really consider, and I think they're really trying to do a great job, so we'll bear with them, okay? Have a good time, and like I say, the next day, the next meeting will be on December the 4th. Thank you. Have a good day, y'all.